What if the gods, heroes, kings, and queens of ancient Greece weren't just legendary figures? What if they were real, flesh and blood, walking among us in a time long past? From Achilles, the nearly invincible warrior of the Trojan War, to Hercules, the demigod who completed impossible tasks, these figures have been immortalized in myth. But are they more than just stories? Was there a King Agamemnon? Did the Trojan War really happen? And what about the mighty gods of Olympus, Zeus, Apollo, Athena? Were they real beings, or were they merely personifications of nature's most powerful forces? Let's dive deep into these stories, sift through the evidence, and uncover the truth. Are these figures from Greek mythology real, or is it all just a myth? Let's begin with the gods of Mount Olympus. These deities were the center of Greek religion, and their stories shaped much of ancient Greek culture. Zeus, the king of the gods, ruled the heavens with a thunderbolt. Apollo, the god of the sun and music, charmed the world with his skills. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, guided heroes on their quests. But were these gods real? While there's no evidence that Zeus or Apollo were ever physical beings, the ancient Greeks believed they existed, and their myths provided explanations for natural phenomena, like storms and the rise of the sun. These gods embodied the emotions and powers humans experienced in life, but they were more symbolic representations than actual, tangible beings. Now, let's talk about the heroes, the larger-than-life figures who captured the imagination of the ancient world. Achilles, the hero of the Trojan War, was said to be nearly invincible, his only weakness being his heel. His rage and his tragic death are central to Homer's Iliad. Was Achilles real? The Trojan War itself is believed to have been based on a real conflict, and the city of Troy has been uncovered by archaeologists. While Achilles' superhuman abilities are likely myth, the war itself and the heroes who fought in it, like Achilles, could have been inspired by real warriors. Speaking of warriors, let's turn to Hercules, the demigod son of Zeus, whose strength was legendary. Hercules is known for his 12 labors, which included slaying the multi-headed Hydra, capturing the Ceryneian hind, and completing countless other impossible feats. Was Hercules real? While we have no evidence of a man who performed these superhuman feats, the stories of Hercules may have been inspired by real heroes who performed extraordinary deeds. The 12 labors are likely allegories for personal struggles and victories. Then there's Odysseus, the cunning king of Ithaca, who faced a long, perilous journey home after the fall of Troy. From battling the Cyclops to resisting the enchantments of the Sirens, Odysseus relied on his intelligence rather than strength. Was Odysseus real? While many of the creatures and challenges he faced were clearly mythical, the Odyssey may have been inspired by real voyages taken by sailors of the time. Some believe that Odysseus represents the resourcefulness and perseverance of the Greek people. Next is Theseus, the king of Athens, is another hero whose story intertwines with both myth and reality. He's famous for slaying the Minotaur, a half-man, half-bull creature that lived in a labyrinth. Was Theseus real? While the city of Athens and its early kings are well documented, the Minotaur and the labyrinth are purely mythical. However, the story of Theseus could have been inspired by real events in early Greek history, symbolizing the challenges faced by leaders in uniting Greece. And then there's King Midas, famous for his golden touch. According to legend, anything Midas touched turned to gold, a blessing that quickly became a curse. Was King Midas real? The kingdom of Phrygia, where Midas ruled, was a real place, and there is evidence of a king named Midas. However, the golden touch is certainly a myth. It's likely a metaphor for the dangers of greed and the unintended consequences of wanting too much. And speaking of the Trojan War, we can't overlook King Agamemnon, the leader of the Greek forces in the war. Agamemnon was the brother of Menelaus, and he led the Greek army in their siege of Troy. His story is filled with betrayal, sacrifice, and tragic decisions, like the sacrifice of his daughter Iphigenia, to appease the gods and ensure favorable winds for the Greek fleet. Was Agamemnon real? Historical records and archaeological discoveries support the existence of a leader named Agamemnon in Mycenaean Greece. While his actions may have been amplified by myth, He was likely a real king involved in the events of the Trojan War. And let's not forget Ajax, one of the greatest warriors in the Greek army. Known for his enormous size and strength, Ajax was a key figure in the Trojan War. He was said to have fought Hector in a duel and nearly killed him. But Ajax's story is also tragic. After the death of Achilles, he became embroiled in a bitter dispute over Achilles' armor, leading to his own demise. Was Ajax real? Like many of the Trojan War heroes, Ajax's larger-than-life feats were likely inspired by real warriors. The historical existence of such a figure is uncertain, but his role in the myth could have been inspired by the deeds of a great warrior. Now, let's dive into the story of Helen of Sparta, a woman whose beauty sparked one of the most famous wars in history, the Trojan War. Helen was the wife of King Menelaus, but she was abducted by Paris, the Prince of Troy. This act led to the 10-year war between the Greeks and the Trojans. Was Helen real? While Helen's beauty may have been exaggerated in myth, the Trojan War itself is rooted in history. Archaeological findings at the ancient city of Troy point to a violent conflict around the time the war is said to have occurred. Helen's abduction could have been a catalyst for a larger, more complex historical event. What about the Amazons, fierce warrior women? They were said to be a race of women warriors skilled in archery and horseback riding. Their queen, Hippolyta, was famous for her strength and bravery. But were the Amazons real? Archaeological evidence shows that some ancient cultures, like the Scythians, had women warriors. These women were buried with weapons, indicating that they fought in battle. While there's no definitive evidence linking these women to the mythical Amazons, it's possible that their real-life counterparts inspired the stories of these powerful women. Finally, the Trojan War, perhaps the most famous of all Greek myths. The Greeks fought the Trojans for 10 long years after Paris, a Trojan prince, abducted Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. The war ended with the Greeks using the famous Trojan horse to infiltrate the city of Troy. Was the Trojan War real? Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of a city that was destroyed around the time the Trojan War is said to have occurred. But while the war may have happened, the events of the Trojan horse and the intervention of gods are part of the myth that grew around the story. So, what's the truth? Were these figures from Greek mythology real, or were they just stories? The gods weren't real, but they represented the forces of nature and human emotions. The heroes, Achilles, Hercules, Odysseus, Helen, Agamemnon, Ajax, and Theseus, were likely based on real warriors, but their feats were exaggerated over time. The same goes for the kings and queens like King Midas, who may have been real historical figures, but their stories were enhanced with mythical elements. In the end, Greek mythology might be a blend of reality and imagination. These myths were crafted to explain the world around the ancient Greeks, to teach lessons, and to inspire awe. They remind us that even the most mythical of stories can have a kernel of truth, and that history and legend are often intertwined in ways we can't fully understand. So, do you think these ancient Greek figures were real or just myths? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Ancient Legends for more fascinating tales from the past. Until next time, keep the legends alive.